Hello YouTube, this is Rarity. I tried to do this video earlier, but I remembered it's used to my old account when you can't upload, I can upload over 15 minutes. Can't do this on this account, so I had to do it again. Alright, Nosflutteratu by Charcoal Quill. It was a quiet day, at least by Ponyville standards. No grand events were scheduled. Nothing was in major need of repairs, no pavers needed to be completed. And most importantly, absolutely nothing was crawling out of the woodwork. For the first time in what seemed like a very long time. Well, indeed, nothing whatsoever was expected of me, and I, Twilight Sparkle, are going to make the best of it. Hold down the fort, Spike, I said to my number one assistant as I headed for the door. For once, it was a quiet day, and you know what that means? No. What, Spike said, and paused for a moment, then grimaced. It's not too quiet, is it? I slowed to a halt, frowning. No, I don't think so. I replied a bit hesitantly. Why do you bring this up? Well, Spike said, you know how it is. Ponyville can hardly go a week without something big happening. If it's quiet, that just means it's about to get really bad. Yes, that does tend to happen. Distressingly often, doesn't it? I must. But a few days ago was the fiasco with Pinkie Pie and the pipe organ, and the week before that, Lyra and I went on a wild goose chase for a nucleave. And before that, Rainbow Dash and Rarity got into a big hoof fight. I frowned thoughtfully. I still don't know where that giant vat of custard came from. Spike sighed dreamingly. I remember that after a moment he blinked. Oh, right. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is, how long ago was the pipe organ incident? I froze. 7 days. Spike nodded. Exactly. So going out today is just asking for trouble. Cautiously, I eyed the library door. It suddenly seemed much more sinister. You know what, Spike? I asked, a note of trepidation coloring my voice. You might be right. Then it hit me. I was being foolish. Nay, not merely foolish. I was being superstitious. If I let myself stay indoors on such a beautiful day because Spike was feeling a little skittish, how could I live with myself? I might as well throw all science, logic, and modern thought into the wind right now. Of course, there was no reason to exercise caution. I nodded to myself, my course of action clear. You might be right, Spike, I repeated, heading once more for the door, but I think I'll be fine. After all, I've got a surefire way to ensure a quiet and relaxing time. Oh, Spike said curiously, what's that? As I trotted out the door, I called over my shoulder, Fluttershy, she's the gentlest pony I know. If I'm just going to see her, then what could possibly go wrong? It was, as usual, a lovely day in Ponyville. The sun was shining brightly, the cloud to open sky ratio was aesthetically pleasing. The occasional bird twittered a jaunty tune as it flew along. The townfolk cantered around the streets with broad smiles on their faces. The whole thing was rather picturesque. In fact, the phrase charmingly rustic sprung readily to mind, though where I had heard the phrase before escaped me at that moment. Truly, if any day would be the harbinger of disaster, this was not the day. As I stepped out into the streets, I found myself torn between going straight to Fluttershy's or taking a more scenic route. After a moment of thought, I decided on the later. A walk through the marketplace sounded like just the thing to annoy the spirits a little before visiting a friend. As luck would have it, the market was exactly where I found Fluttershy. Seeing her familiar pale rose mane in the crowd, I trotted towards her. Fluttershy smiled as I approached. Hello, Twilight. Hi, Fluttershy, I said. How are you? Oh, fine. Fluttershy turned her attention back to the produce stand in front of her, then selected a cabbage and paid the merchant. Satisfied with her purchase, she turned to me once more. Is there anything in particular you wanted from me? I mean, if there is, I'd be happy to help. I chuckled. Well, if there's an opening in your schedule, I'd like to spend some time with you. Nothing exciting, just really Just quiet relaxation. Maybe we could grab a bite to eat. Fluttershy blinked. Okay. I just need to finish with my groceries first, she said, gesturing to her saddlebags. I mean, if that's fine. Of course, I replied. I'll just tag along if you don't mind. No, go ahead. Fluttershy smiled warmly at me. I'm glad for the company. As Fluttershy trotted along to the next stand, I fell into place behind her. She still seemed a little reserved, but I knew the perfect topic to break the metaphorical ice. So, any new arrivals at the cottage, I asked? At once, Fluttershy became a lot more animated. Oh, yes, why, just yesterday I met the cutest grass snake. And before that, from there, Fluttershy chattered freely, in so much as Fluttershy ever chatters, and I was more than happy to join in. We jumped topics fairly often. 1 minute, Fluttershy was telling me about one of Angel's latest exploits, and the next we were laughing over Spike's newest misadventure. Afterwards, I brought up some theories on dragon growth spurts, and it went from there. True, most small talk, but that was besides the point. Sooner than it had seemed, in fact, Fluttershy's bags were bulging. After casting a critical eye at her shopping list, she turned to me. Well, that's everything I need. What do you want to do now, Twilight? As if on cue, a gurgle answered Fluttershy. I looked down at my stomach and then back at her. Lunch sound good? Fluttershy nodded. Some food does sound nice. She looked around for a moment until her eye finally rested on a nearby restaurant, a nice Italian place, with several tables outside. She pointed a hoof towards it. Does that look okay to you? It's perfect. Let's get some outdoor seating though. As I walked towards the building, I tilted my head slightly upwards, smiling as though the light fell on my face. I've been cooped up in the library for the past few days and it feels good to get some sun. I can imagine. I paused. Did I imagine it, or was there something odd about the way Fluttershy had said that, almost wistful? As we sat down on opposite sides of the table, I smiled at the Pegasus in front of me. Well, Fluttershy, I said, this has been quite nice so far. We should get together more often. Oh yes, Twilight, that would be lovely. Fluttershy smiled back, any trace of menace wholly gone, if there was indeed any at all. She lifted her menu, obscuring her face. I did the same for a minute or two. We both sat in silence as we pored over our menus. Suddenly, my eyes widened. Ah, fancy pants. Fluttershy lowered her menu. What? That's where I heard the phrase charmingly rustic from Rarity's friend, Fancy Pants. I chuckled apologetically. Sorry for the non-squatar. It's just that the question had been bothering me for a while. Oh, Fluttershy nodded. That's nothing to apologize for. I mean, hypothetically speaking, I can think of plenty worse things. Really, I said? Like what? At that moment, a waiter glided over to us in that curious way the most experienced serving ponies are so adept at. Have you reached a decision, madams? I laid my menu down. Yes, I have. I'd like the fettuccine and garlic Alfredo sauce, please. And an artichoke salad for me, please, Fluttershy added quietly. The waiter nodded. Of course. And would either of you like something to drink? I frowned thoughtfully. Sure, why not? A glass of milk, please. What about you, Fluttershy? No thank you. Fluttershy averted her gaze. I didn't see anything I'd like to drink. The waiter raised an eyebrow. Are you sure, madam? I could have the wine list brought out to you, if you'd prefer. Fluttershy shook her head fervently. No, that's quite all right. I don't drink. She paused, then mumbled, wine. As you wish. At that, the waiter drifted away. Once more, silence filled the space, but time neither of us were forthcoming with a topic. Quietly, I arranged and straightened the silverware in front of me, but that only killed a few seconds. With nothing else to do, I contented myself with carefully studying Fluttershy's expressions, trying to guess at her thoughts. For a moment, I frowned. Was she looking a little paler than usual? Were those bags under her eyes? Twilight, is something wrong? I blinked. Oh, sorry, Fluttershy. Before continuing, I cleared my throat. It's just, well, are you feeling all right? You seem a little. I paused. Tired. Ill, perhaps? Oh, Fluttershy blushed. It's nothing. I'm just a little sensitive to sunlight, that's all. She looked away. It's not normally so bad, but it's getting close to summer, so I'm starting to feel a bit out of sorts. She squinted a little. The sun kind of hurts my eyes. My eyes widened. Why didn't you just say so? If I'd have known this before, we could have taken a table indoors. I didn't want to be a bother, Fluttershy mumbled. Nonsense, I smiled. It's no bother to make you more comfortable. The corners of Fluttershy's mouth twitched apart. Her response carried the barest hint of wariness. I could say the same for you, you know. I rolled my eyes. Okay, you had me there. But I think easing your discomfort takes top priority, if you say so. Well, tell you what, I bet Rarity's just looking for an excuse to make a hat. I winked. Once we're done with lunch, why don't we see if we can get you with an extra wide brim? Fluttershy smile widened. That sounds nice. The waiter drifted over again. Your foods, madams? He sat our plates down, then flipped away. I breathed in the sharp aroma of garlic and wailed at my plate. Oh, I can't wait to dig in. It smells so good. I scooped up a forkful of pasta, then chewed it slowly. It was exquisite. I swallowed, then licking my lips. Delicious. How's your salad, Fluttershy? She didn't answer. I looked up to see her leaning as far away from possible, staring at my plate as if its contents were alive and wriggling. Fluttershy? I frowned. Is something wrong? I wasn't expecting quite that much garlic, Fluttershy said breathlessly. It's a little, well, overpowering. Oh, I replied. I didn't know you hate garlic. Fluttershy blushed. Hate is a little strong of a word. It just sort of, she hesitated, repels me. Repels, I frowned. That's an odd word choice. Trust me, it fits, Fluttershy said. I shrugged. If you say so, I replied, scooting my plate further away from her. Just be careful. Between this and the sunlight, ponies might start to think you're a vampire or something. I chuckled at my jest. Fluttershy nodded. Exactly. I blinked. What? Exactly, Fluttershy repeated hesitantly. A vampire. I understand if it slipped your mind. I stared at her. If what slipped my mind? What? I thought every pony knew by now. Fluttershy gulped. I thought you knew. You didn't know? No pony ever mentioned it? Mentioned what? I exclaimed. Fluttershy, just tell me what you're trying to say. Fluttershy hid her face behind her mane. Well, Twilight, she paused. I'm a vampire. What was that? I'm a vampire. A little louder, please. I'm a vampire. Huh? I stared at her uncomprehendingly. Of course, I knew what the words themselves meant, I indicating the timid butter-yellow Pegasus, who now in front of me, wearing an expression of mild worry, and vampire meaning the undead, blood-sucking fiend in pony form. It's just that when faced with making a connection between the two images, my brain simply threw its arms up in the air and said, screw this, I'm out of here, leaving the rest of me to sit there in dumb bewilderment. Maybe it was a joke, I thought somewhat hopefully. Looking for something to reinforce the theory, I stared into Fluttershy's eyes. I could find nothing in them besides unwavering sincerity and a sharp intake of breath. I realized Fluttershy meant every word she said. It took me a moment to remember to breathe again, then I finally didn't. I found my voice. Mother of Celestia, you're serious. Silently, Fluttershy nodded. But how can you be serious? I exclaimed. That doesn't make any sense. It's true, Fluttershy insisted. How can it be? I said. I mean, look. I glanced meaningfully at the restaurant's window. There both of our reflections sit. That's your reflection. Vampires don't have that or a shadow, but you have both. Actually, the reflection thing is a myth, Fluttershy mumbled. It's the same for the shadow. Well, vampires drink blood. They don't eat salad. I pointed at the plate in front of her. Well, I like the flavor, but I don't have to eat, Fluttershy said. All I really need is blood. That's why sometimes when money's tight, I spend all my grocery money on food for my animals. Well, guys, I gotta go. Sorry I didn't get too exciting, but I don't have that long to read in the video. So hopefully we'll